Let's be blunt. Muscle loss isn't just about getting older, it's about losing your independence. Past age 40, your muscle mass starts shrinking at a rate of 1–2% per year. By your 70s, that's like trying to run a race with half your engine missing. The good news? You can reverse a lot of that decline with a single strategic daily habit. No fad diets, no magic pills, no gimmicks. This isn't about bulking up like a bodybuilder. It's about rebuilding the cellular machinery that lets you lift your groceries, climb stairs, and get out of a chair without feeling like you've run a marathon. Science is clear. Feed the right signals to your muscles every day and they'll respond, no matter your age. Do it right, and you could feel like you've rewound your body clock by decades. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your body starts losing muscle long before you feel old. Around age 40, the process of sarcopenia quietly begins, like a slow leak in your car's gas tank. At first, you don't notice it. You can still carry the groceries, open the pickle jar, or get up from the floor without effort. But inside your body, your muscle fibers are shrinking, your mitochondria are losing steam, and your strength is ebbing away 1 percentage point at a time. By the time you're in your 70s, that quiet leak could have drained away a third or more of your muscle mass. And here's the kicker. Muscle isn't just for moving. It's the largest organ in your body you never think about. A massive sink for blood sugar, a driver of your metabolism, and a silent guardian of your independence. Lose enough of it, and everyday life becomes a workout you didn't sign up for. Sarcopenia doesn't happen because the body wears out like an old machine. It happens because of disuse, poor nutrition, and biochemical changes you can influence. If you spend decades sitting at desks, driving cars, and parking yourself in front of screens, your muscles adapt to the job you've given them, doing as little as possible. Muscle is metabolically expensive. It takes energy and protein to maintain. Your body is a master of efficiency. If you don't send a clear signal that muscle is needed, your body starts downsizing it. Evolution didn't plan for us to live decades past 40 without daily physical demands. In a hunter-gatherer world, muscle was constantly stimulated by necessity. In the modern world, it's neglected by design. Then there's the hormonal shift. Around midlife, growth hormone and testosterone in men start declining. Estrogen in women takes a nosedive after menopause, and the body's ability to synthesize new muscle proteins slows down. Add to that an increase in inflammation, your immune system's slow burn, and you have a recipe for accelerated muscle loss. Chronic inflammation actually blocks the pathways your body uses to build muscle and makes the pathways that break it down more active. Think of it as your body's construction crew going on strike while the demolition crew works overtime. Nutrition plays a double role here. Many older adults eat fewer calories and less protein than they need, not because they're dieting, but because appetite decreases with age. The problem, without enough amino acids, your body simply can't build or repair muscle tissue. And if your diet is heavy on refined carbs and sugar, you're pouring fuel on the inflammation fire and spiking insulin, a hormone that when chronically elevated shifts the body toward fat storage and away from muscle maintenance. That's part of why many people lose muscle while gaining fat as they age. The scale doesn't tell you the full story. You might weigh the same at 65 as you did at 40, but the composition of your body could be radically different and not in your favor. Why does this matter so much? Because muscle is the ultimate insurance policy for healthy aging. It keeps your metabolism humming, supports healthy blood sugar, protects your joints, stabilizes your posture, and most importantly gives you the physical reserve to bounce back from illness or injury. Lose muscle and your risk of falls, fractures, and hospitalizations skyrockets, and recovery becomes painfully slow. Studies show that older adults confined to bed for even a week can lose up to 5% of their muscle mass. At younger ages, you can bounce back from that. Later in life, it can mean never regaining your prior level of function. But here's the good news. Inevitability doesn't mean irreversibility. Muscle is incredibly adaptive. It responds to demand at any age. That means if you give it the right stimulus, resistance training, adequate protein, and the nutrients it needs, it will grow stronger. Even people in their 80s and 90s have been shown to gain significant muscle mass and strength with the right interventions. You may not build muscle as quickly as you did at 25, but you can absolutely restore enough to radically improve your health, mobility, and independence. Think of it this way: muscle decline after 40 is like compounding interest in reverse. Each year you lose a little, and that loss makes the next year's loss bigger. But if you intervene, if you start making deposits instead of withdrawals, you can reverse the trend. The earlier you start, the easier it is, but it's never too late. Even small daily actions can shift your trajectory from decline to growth. There's also a psychological factor at play. Losing muscle isn't just about physical weakness. It changes how you interact with the world. You start avoiding stares, skipping social events that involve walking, or asking for help with tasks you once did effortlessly. That withdrawal can feed into isolation and depression, which in turn reduces activity even further, a downward spiral. Restoring muscle reverses that. Strength is confidence in motion. It gives you back the ability to say yes to life instead of quietly shrinking your world. Dr. Robert Lustig often talks about how modern life hijacks our biology and how we can reclaim it by making conscious choices. Muscle decline is a perfect example. The modern environment, sedentary living, processed food, chronic stress sets you up for loss. But your biology is still wired for growth, repair, and resilience if you give it the signals it's waiting for. The inevitable is only inevitable if you do nothing. Send your body the message that muscle is essential, and it will respond whether you're 40, 70, or beyond. Your muscle health is your future independence. Guard it like you'd guard your eyesight or your memory, because once it's gone, getting it back takes work. But keeping it is infinitely easier. And if you start today, you'll thank yourself every time you carry the groceries in one trip, climb the stairs without huffing, or stand up from the couch without a handrail. Aging is unavoidable. Frailty isn't. When people hear the phrase restore muscle strength, they often picture elaborate workout plans, personal trainers shouting in their ears, or spending hours in the gym surrounded by machines they don't know how to use. But here's the reality: the body doesn't care if you're in a high-end fitness studio or your living room. It responds to consistent, intentional stimulation, and that's where one daily habit can change everything. We humans love complexity. We believe the solution to a big problem must be equally big, complicated programs, strict diets, multiple supplements. But biology runs on simple, clear signals. Your muscles have one question they ask every day: do you still need me? If the answer through your actions is yes, they'll adapt and grow stronger. If the answer is no, they'll start packing their bags. The beauty is that you can answer yes with as little as one deliberate habit performed every day. Think of this daily habit as a signal flare to your muscle fibers. It might be a short resistance routine, a bodyweight movement sequence, or a specific nutrition ritual that triggers muscle protein synthesis. The specifics matter less than the consistency. In the language of physiology, this is progressive overload, the practice of nudging your muscles slightly beyond what they're used to. Do it every day, and your muscles get the message loud and clear: this tissue is still required. The key is that your chosen habit must be both challenging and sustainable. Too easy, and it won't trigger adaptation. Too hard, and you'll burn out or injure yourself. A 10-minute resistance band session each morning can be enough to stimulate growth, especially if you're starting from a place of inactivity. The magic is not in doing everything, it's in doing something daily, without fail. Here's why this works so well. Muscle protein synthesis doesn't run constantly. It's like a factory that only turns on when it gets the right order. That order can come from mechanical stress exercise or from specific nutrients, most notably the amino acid leucine found in protein-rich foods. When you send that order every day, you keep the factory in business. Skip it for too long and the machinery starts rusting. And this is not just about the muscles you see in the mirror. The small, stabilizing muscles that support your joints, the deep core muscles that protect your spine, the postural muscles that keep you upright, all of these respond to the same stimulus. One daily habit done correctly can reach them all. That's why something as simple as a set of squats, push-ups, or resistance band pulls can deliver results far beyond their apparent simplicity. The science backs this up. Research on older adults shows that even minimal daily resistance training can significantly increase muscle strength and functional ability in just weeks. The improvements go beyond raw power. They translate into real-life abilities, getting out of a chair without help, carrying groceries without stopping, walking longer distances without fatigue. In other words, this isn't just about vanity. It's about reclaiming the everyday actions that make life worth living. There's also a metabolic bonus. Muscles are hungry tissues. Every time you use them, you increase glucose uptake from your bloodstream, improve insulin sensitivity, and boost your resting metabolic rate. That means your one daily habit for muscle can also be your one daily habit for metabolic health. It's a 2-for-1 deal your body loves. Some will argue, but I walk every day, doesn't that count? Walking is excellent for your cardiovascular system, mood, and overall movement, but it's not enough to maintain muscle mass on its own. Walking doesn't provide the level of resistance your muscles need to trigger growth. The habit we're talking about here is deliberate muscle stimulation, something that makes your muscles work against resistance in a way that says, this tissue is crucial, keep it. And this habit doesn't have to happen in the morning. It doesn't have to happen in a gym. It doesn't even have to happen all at once. You could split it into 2 short sessions, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and still reap the benefits. What matters is that the signal is strong and it's sent every day. The body loves rhythm. Daily habits become part of your biological expectation and your muscles respond accordingly. The real barrier isn't lack of knowledge. It's inertia. Most people know they should be exercising, but the idea feels overwhelming. The genius of focusing on one habit is that it removes decision fatigue. You don't wake up wondering, what workout should I do today? You already know. You do the thing, the habit, every single day without negotiation. Over time, it becomes as automatic as brushing your teeth. This is how small habits compound. The first week, you might notice a little soreness, a sign your muscles are waking up. By week 3, movements feel easier. By week 8, you're stronger in ways you didn't expect, maybe lifting a heavy bag without thinking or climbing stairs without holding the railing. That's when you realize this one habit isn't just building muscle, it's building your freedom. In the style of Dr. Lustig, let's strip away the marketing noise. No supplement, no miracle gadget, no biohack will replace the fundamental truth that muscle responds to stimulus. That stimulus can be delivered in the form of one simple, intentional daily habit. You don't need a 90-day challenge or a 30-exercise circuit. You need something you can commit to doing today, tomorrow, and the day after without fail. The problem of muscle loss is big, but the solution doesn't have to be one habit, one signal, repeated every day. That's how you stop the decline and start the rebuild. Your future self will thank you every time you move without pain, live without assistance, and say yes to things that people your age are starting to avoid. The habit is the seed. Plant it now, water it daily, and watch strength and independence grow back into your life. When most people hear the word fitness, they picture six-pack abs, toned arms, and glossy magazine covers with impossibly lean bodies. But here's the reality. A strong, functional body is not about looking like a fitness model. It's about living your life without limits. Muscle strength, when we're talking about healthy aging, is not a vanity project. It's survival insurance. It's your ticket to independence. And it's the difference between thriving in your later years or spending them negotiating with gravity every time you stand up. Fitness is about performance in controlled environments, running on a treadmill, hitting a target weight in the gym, or hitting your step goal. Function is about performance in real life, lifting a suitcase into the overhead bin, stepping onto a bus without tripping, or playing with your grandkids without having to sit down after 5 minutes. One can exist without the other. You can be fit by certain measurements and still lack the functional strength to live with freedom, and you can be functionally strong without ever setting foot in a gym. Here's the thing, muscles are not just motors that move your body. They are shock absorbers, stabilizers, and metabolic regulators. A strong quadricep is the difference between catching yourself after a stumble or hitting the ground. A strong core is the difference between walking upright or slowly folding into a posture that steals your breath and mobility. A strong grip can literally predict how long you'll live. Research shows grip strength is a better predictor of mortality than blood pressure. That's not because grip strength itself keeps you alive, but because it's a proxy for overall muscle function. And function is more than raw strength. It's coordination, balance, and endurance. You don't need to deadlift twice your body weight, but you do need the ability to stand on one leg long enough to put your pants on without sitting down. You don't have to run a marathon, but you do need to be able to walk briskly enough to cross a street before the light changes. Those are functional benchmarks, and they matter far more to your long-term quality of life than any arbitrary fitness milestone. The modern world doesn't help. We've engineered functional strength right out of our lives. We no longer squat to use the bathroom, carry water, or walk miles to get food. Our lives are designed for convenience, and convenience is the enemy of function. Every time we choose the elevator over the stairs, the car over a short walk, or the electric opener over a manual twist, we're signaling to our muscles that their services are no longer required. And the body, ever efficient, responds accordingly. Losing functional strength doesn't happen all at once. It's insidious. One day you realize you avoid the low shelf at the grocery store because getting back up from a squat feels awkward. You start looking for handrails without even thinking about it. You start hesitating at curbs or uneven sidewalks. And each time you make that little adjustment, avoiding the challenge instead of meeting it, you give up a bit more capability. Eventually, what was once a choice becomes a necessity. That's why restoring muscle isn't about building a body for Instagram. It's about reclaiming the physical abilities you may not even realize you've been surrendering. It's about having the stamina to cook dinner without needing to sit halfway through. It's about bending down to tie your shoes without feeling winded. It's about carrying your own grocery bags, not because you have to prove something, but because you can. And here's the hopeful part. The body is remarkably responsive, even after years of neglect. Functional strength comes back faster than most people think. Simple movements like sit-to-stands, step-ups, farmer's carries, and single-leg balances can produce dramatic changes in how you move through your day. You don't need to train like an athlete. You need to train like a human who wants to keep being human. Dr. Robert Lustig talks often about quality of life as the ultimate health metric. While functional strength is the physical side of that equation, you can have perfect blood work, a low resting heart rate, and still struggle with daily tasks if you neglect your muscles. Conversely, strong functional muscles can help protect against chronic disease by improving insulin sensitivity, reducing inflammation, and keeping your cardiovascular system engaged. That's a win-win. You're healthier on paper and in practice. The beauty of focusing on function is that it's measurable in real-world terms. Can you climb a flight of stairs without stopping? Can you get off the floor without using your hands? Can you carry a laundry basket across the house without feeling like you've done a workout? These are the tests that matter because they predict your ability to live independently. Fail enough of them, and you start relying on others for things you once did without thought. Pass them, and you keep your autonomy. And make no mistake, autonomy is everything. It's not just about pride, it's about dignity and freedom. The ability to live on your own terms, in your own space, doing your own activities, is one of the most powerful determinants of happiness in older age. That's what functional strength protects. It's not about getting ripped, it's about getting capable. The other reason function trumps fitness. Life doesn't care how much you can bench press. Life cares whether you can catch yourself when you trip on a rug, hoist a bag of soil into the garden, or dance for an entire song without sitting down. When you train for function, you're training for the unpredictable challenges of life, not for the predictable repetitions of a workout. That makes you more adaptable, resilient, and ready for whatever comes your way. So the next time you think about building muscle, remember this is not about posing in front of a mirror. This is about bending, twisting, lifting, carrying, walking, standing, and living with the confidence that your body will respond when you ask it to. Fitness is optional, function is not. And if you focus on the latter, you'll find that you've built something far more valuable than a good physique. You've built the physical foundation for a full, independent, and vibrant life. When it comes to restoring muscle strength, the health and fitness industry loves to make it sound complicated. They'll sell you 12-week transformation programs, color-coded supplements, and gadgets that promise accelerated gains through some mysterious proprietary technology. But here's the biological truth. Your muscles are old school. They don't respond to gimmicks, hashtags, or influencer-endorsed powders. They respond to two signals: mechanical load and proper nutrition. That's it. No subscription required. The reason simplicity works is because your muscles have been running the same playbook for hundreds of thousands of years. Back when our ancestors were hauling water, carrying firewood, and climbing hills, they weren't counting reps on an app or drinking fluorescent recovery drinks. They were using their muscles against resistance and eating real food. Those two inputs, physical demand and nutrient supply, are still all your body needs to grow and maintain muscle. Everything else is marketing. Think of muscle building as a light switch. Mechanical stress, lifting, pushing, pulling, carrying, flips the switch on. Protein and other key nutrients provide the building materials. Your body does the rest. The repair process happens automatically, like a well-rehearsed construction crew showing up as soon as they get the order. You don't have to micromanage it. You just have to make sure the order gets sent every single day. That's the part most people overcomplicate. The modern world tries to convince you that the secret is in the details. What's the optimal rep range? The perfect protein timing? The magic supplement stack? But study after study has shown that for older adults, the most important factor is consistency. The difference between someone who regains muscle strength and someone who doesn't isn't whether they followed an elite athlete's periodized program. It's whether they showed up day after day doing the simple things that work. And those simple things can be laughably low-tech. Bodyweight exercises like squats, wall push-ups, and step-ups are enough to stimulate muscle growth if you haven't been doing them. A sturdy resistance band can replace an entire rack of weights. Walking uphill can do more for your leg strength than $1,000 stationary bike if you do it regularly. The complexity comes from the industry's need to sell you something new, not from your body's needs. There's another reason simplicity works. It's sustainable. The more complicated a plan is, the less likely you are to stick with it. If you have to memorize a 20-exercise routine, count every calorie, and buy special equipment, you're adding friction to the process. And friction is the enemy of habit. A simple plan removes the excuses. You can do it anywhere, anytime, with what you already have. That's the secret sauce, not some exotic supplement powder from the Amazon rainforest. Biologically, this makes sense. Your muscles aren't judging the sophistication of your workout, they're judging the load. A push-up on your living room floor sends the same growth signal to your chest and triceps as a bench press in a high-end gym. Provided the effort is challenging enough, carrying a heavy laundry basket up the stairs engages your grip, arms, core, and legs in the same way a farmer's carry does in a training program. The formality of the exercise is irrelevant. The signal is what matters. The same goes for nutrition. We can get lost in the weeds debating plant versus animal protein, whey versus casein, or whether you should eat before or after your workout. But for restoring muscle strength, the fundamentals are clear. You need enough total protein spread throughout the day. you need to pair it with resistance exercise, and you need to avoid the inflammatory junk that interferes with muscle repair. Everything else is a rounding error. Here's the irony. The optimal program on paper might actually be worse for you if it's so complex you quit after 3 weeks. The good enough program you can do consistently for months will run circles around it. The science doesn't just favor simplicity, it rewards it with better results because simple routines are repeatable routines. And repeatable routines are the ones your body actually adapts to. There's also a psychological boost to simplicity. When you master a small set of movements, you stop worrying about whether you're doing it right and start focusing on how your body feels and progresses. That self-awareness is critical, especially as you age. You learn to recognize good soreness from strain, progress from plateau. You don't get lost chasing the next new thing because you're grounded in the basics that work. Dr. Robert Lustig often points out how the food industry thrives on complexity, labels, health claims, engineered flavors, when the real path to health is eating real unprocessed food. The same principle applies to muscle health. The exercise industry thrives on novelty and overcomplication. But your path to stronger muscles is through consistent, simple practices you can keep doing without relying on external motivators. And there's a deeper truth here. The simplicity of the approach forces you to engage with your body's feedback instead of outsourcing your progress to a machine or a formula. You start noticing when you feel stronger, when your posture improves, when everyday tasks get easier. That's intrinsic motivation. It's self-sustaining. You don't need a personal trainer yelling at you. Your own life becomes easier and more enjoyable. And that's all the reward you need. So strip it down, pick a small set of movements you can do anywhere, make them challenging enough to signal your muscles. Eat enough high-quality protein to support repair. Repeat daily. Don't get distracted by the shiny objects the fitness world throws at you. Your muscles are older than marketing. They know exactly what to do. They just need you to send the signal and provide the materials. That's the science. And that's about as simple as it gets. One of the most remarkable things about the human body is that it keeps a record, not just in your brain, but in your muscles. Even after years of decline, your muscles can remember their former glory. This isn't wishful thinking or some motivational slogan. It's hard science. Muscle memory is a real biological phenomenon, and it means that no matter how much you've lost, you can rebuild faster than you think. When you train your muscles, whether in your 20s or your 70s, you're not just building the muscle fibers themselves, you're also adding nuclei to the muscle cells. These nuclei act like little command centers, each capable of orchestrating protein synthesis to repair and grow the muscle. Once you've earned those nuclei, they stick around even if the muscle shrinks from disuse. It's like building a factory and then temporarily shutting down production. The building is still there. The machinery is still inside. All you have to do is fire up the generators again and production can resume quickly. That's why someone who was active in their youth can regain strength and size much faster than someone starting from scratch. The muscle may look and feel smaller after years of inactivity, but the cellular infrastructure remains in place, waiting for the signal to turn back on. And the same is true for someone who's been strong in the past but allowed life, work, family, stress to push physical training to the side. This is profoundly good news for older adults. Sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle, is a slow process. It might have been creeping in for decades, but the potential for recovery never fully disappears. Studies have shown that even people in their 80s and 90s can gain significant muscle mass and strength within weeks of starting resistance training. That's not because they're defying biology, it's because they're tapping into it. Here's where the psychology comes in. Many people believe that once they've lost it, it's gone forever. That belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. They stop trying, which means the muscles get even less stimulus, which accelerates the decline. Understanding muscle memory flips that narrative. You're not starting from zero. You're starting from dormant potential, and potential is far easier to wake up than to build from scratch. This is also why short breaks in activity, due to injury, illness, or even laziness, don't erase all your progress. Yes, you might lose some visible muscle tone and strength after a layoff, but your ability to regain it is much faster than it was the first time you trained. That's because those myonuclei are still sitting in your muscle fibers, ready to jump back into action. The physiological groundwork you laid in the past is still paying dividends today. The implications go beyond vanity. If you know your body can rebound, you're more likely to take action now rather than resign yourself to decline. And the earlier you start, the bigger your muscle savings account will be for the future. Think of every rep, every resistance session as making a deposit. Life might force you to make some withdrawals, time off for recovery or unavoidable inactivity, but you'll have reserves to draw from when you need them. Muscle memory also explains why functional abilities return so quickly once you start training again. The neural pathways, the communication lines between your brain and your muscles, stay wired long after you stop using them. That's why the first few weeks back into training often feel like your body is waking up. You're not just building muscle tissue, you're reactivating those movement patterns, sharpening coordination, and reestablishing the mind-muscle connection. It's like dusting off a skill you learned years ago. You might be rusty, but the fundamentals are still there. And here's another piece of good news. The older you get, the more muscle memory matters. That's because the margin for error gets smaller. In your 20s, you can neglect training for months and bounce back without much trouble. In your 60s or 70s, every bit of stored muscle potential is like gold. It means the difference between